Huge news today. The e-flite F-16 just got a major upgrade. And a first for the e-flite line that we know of, the F-16 got a re-release with an 8-channel receiver. That's right. We've never seen Horizon push an 8-channel receiver on a bind and fly before. This is a whole new ballpark. We've been ahead of the curve here for a few months though. This F-16 has been flown on an 8-channel setup since its maiden flight, and we already had flaperons and full differential stabilators, also known as tailerons, programmed for its maiden flight. You guys know you'd expect nothing else from us. But that's the awesome thing here. The new Thunderbird release will let you guys with an 8-channel or better radio perform the same setup that we have on our F-16. Check the end of our maiden video for more info on how to really push the setup to new heights. For now, let's go over the F-16 again for those of you who were looking into the Thunderbird's re-release. While ours is just a gray tiger meat scheme, the jet is identical aside from the paint job. Ground handling is great, but consider using 85% expo to tamp down the handling if you're flying on 150% rates like we do. Otherwise, steering during high-speed taxiing and landing run the risk of tipping the jet over in a ground loop. Let's get up and give you some ideas of what to expect with the F-16. Wow. Did you see that?
Yup, I got it.
This jet has amazing flight characteristics. It's stable throughout most of its flight envelope. Contrary to some opinions that you might hear, you can clearly see that this jet does not lack power, nor does it fly, quote, like a pig. It's very aerobatic and has a ton of potential. It's not a beginner's jet though. Since it's an 80mm scale jet, it has a bit of heft to it. It carries a decent amount of weight on its wings. It's definitely not as lightly loaded as the 70mm e-flite Thunderbirds is. This makes it easier for it to get into serious trouble if the airspeed drops and you attempt to increase the jet's angle of attack to keep it flying. It simply will not fly. It will auger into the ground in a death spiral. It's more than capable of scale aerobatics, and it also performs beyond scale aerobatics, including the Cobra maneuver and the Cobra spin, the technique that you might have seen in Top Gun Maverick. Just be aware of the possibility of accelerated stalls when pulling the elevator too hard. As a reminder to newer pilots, or maybe people who just weren't aware, aircraft wings can and will stall at any airspeed. All that's required is exceeding the wing's critical angle of attack at any given airspeed.
I didn't expect it to do that. Let's do that again.
The Viper is a real joy to fly. It can be as tame as you want it to be, or it can be completely unhinged like the full-scale jet is.
I almost lost orientation, but I know my butt is facing me. That's another reason why you want an afterburner.
Mm-hmm. Holy shit.
That was cool, dude. You caught all that?
I couldn't even keep up with it as it went past us.
It's more pitch sensitive while inverted with the amount of throws that we use, which makes it slightly unstable. It flies very well overall with the center of gravity balanced at 130 to 140 millimeters back from the wing root. If you were to push it back further, it would definitely become more difficult to fly, but would be much more impressive with its pitch and yaw authority. It's also very capable in slow high alpha flight. Take care to keep the nose from pointing up too high. It will laterally depart from controlled flight and begin yawing in one direction, which requires you to stay on top of the rudder to keep it controlled. Flying inverted high alpha is a bit trickier, but completely controllable. You need to be confident with your stick and rudder work to perform it, because all of the steering is going to come from using rudder while inverted. Ease into it by slowly feeding in full down elevator with increasing amounts of throttle until the jet settles in, then just keep the nose pointed with rudder. So we've seen how well it flies, but how well does it land? With jets, we tend to fly military overhead pattern. In plain English, this means that we fly at ourselves, brake and drop the gear, then fly out past a fixed point and bank hard from that point to enter the landing pattern. This bleeds off airspeed and makes the jet land much quicker than it would in a standard 4-point civilian approach. And the thrust reverse is awesome too. This brings it to a dead stop in no time at all. You can even use thrust reverse to power back and change directions. This is mostly a novelty, but it still looks awesome.
Relatively aggressive maneuvering, but nothing where I'm pulling the elevator too hard.
Will it stall bad?
It will drop a wing if you pull a little too hard, even at high speeds.
This is also the only jet that we currently own we felt confident enough with to slalom around the trees with.
I know the afterburner in the evening sunlight looks pretty freaking sick.
It's so responsive and agile that it was just begging to do this even lower, within the 150 feet we've got between us and the tree line.
Can't thank you enough for helping me out today, man.
Yeah, of course.
What are friends for, right? I give you a motor, you give me some footage.
Yeah, I mean, if you're gonna give me free I was gonna say there's not much I won't do, but let's not get down that rabbit hole. Certainly within reason, will film 4 parts.
There we go. Let's do it.
Let's go up with a nearly uncut bit of footage, just like our old content.
Coming in close. I'm gonna put her up into a tail slide. Zoom in real good if you can. 3, 2, 1. Oh gosh, that was good. Going vertical. Trying to get out of your way.
Appreciate it.
I don't normally fly like this, but it's interesting. See if I can get a knife edge going.
Doing a real good job keeping up with where I'm pointing this thing and where your head's at.
Oh, I know where the plane's going, so that's where you're gonna go, right?
Indeed. Or at least that's what you expect me to do.
Yes. Okay. I'm gonna brake and then bring it into land.
Cool.
I love this. It's so good. You gotta get one.
Absolutely. It may not be for a little bit. I've spent a bunch of money on hobby stuff.
Yeah, I know
Also
that
got some other expenses I've just shelled out for recently.
full flaps as we bank in. Ready to cut throttle here soon.
And there you have it. Our F-16 isn't the Thunderbird version, but it flies identical because it's the same jet. So those of you who are new to the airframe will have a very good idea of what to expect from it. In the e-flite lineup, only the Viper 90mm really comes close to how well this F-16 performs, and it's honestly a real toss-up for us. Tony is more partial to the Viper because of how well it flies. I'm more partial to the F-16 because it does literally everything I want it to. Fortunately, we don't have to choose, we own both. As we said in the final review, this jet got a 9.5 out of 10 from us. It's simply outstanding and is a fine work of art, given its price point and just how damned well it flies. Consider picking up one of the 80mm F-16s from our links in the description. It really helps us out and gives us the ability to get new models to review for you. If you saw the Rafale Maiden, that was all thanks to viewers like you. See you guys on Wednesday, and thank you.